Hello everyone, Lisa here from Everything is a Lie. Thanks for joining me today as we look at Fremantle, Western Australia. I'd like to give you a bit of an overview of the area and the architecture. I really want to look at the Roundhouse, the first official jail, in some depth, and then we'll have a look at some street levels and buried windows that we love so much and compare these with the main jail, the main prison complex that was as built later. So Fremantle Harbour serves the port of Perth. 1829, as we know. The one thing I wanted to notice, if I say Freo, I mean Fremantle. It's just what we call it. So this image, the Roundhouse is where I'm going to concentrate. But I want you to notice that it's very level here. It's level pretty much all the way through, and then it heads up the hill. This street has been cut off, but it used to go directly up the hill to this war memorial at the top. You've got the prison over this side, and that's on the higher level, not as high as that. And you've got the lunatic asylum, which is now the arts centre. Also raised up, but probably not quite as high as the prison. So take note of that. I'll explain all that later. So Bathers Beach, the fishing boat harbour was added much later. This added much later. There was a long jetty called Long Jetty, probably somewhere about here, which is discussed later as well. So you've got North Head or North Mole, Rouse Head. Just check the river here. It's a long winding trip into Perth. It's only 14 kilometres directly, but there's a massive sandbar here. So you have to come all the way down into this corner to make the trip unless you have a very, very shallow hull. So this will make sense in just a moment why I'm telling you this. If you haven't already watched it too, I highly recommend Campbell from Autodidactic, who has done an excellent preface to this video, and he looks at the prison and the lunatic asylum and doesn't look too hard into the Roundhouse, which I really wanted to do. So perfect. Have a look. Even stop now and go and look at that if you want and come back. So the history, I'm not going to go into it. You know how to read Wikipedia. You also know that there's many, many other more reliable sources out there. I did just want to note this bit, talking about the Long Jetty. It was a big problem because it was so exposed. But the difficulty of getting cargo, this part interested me. So the cargo was loaded from the port onto the barges, sailed up the river on the westerly sea breeze. Now that would be the southwester that we get almost religiously every afternoon, but that doesn't normally happen until after 11 or 12 o'clock. And then back to Fremantle on the easterly winds. Now the easterly winds didn't normally happen until the next morning. So that makes that an overnight trip at best. So this happened until 1845, when they were able to get steamships in there. That's a whole lot of building that would be disrupted, surely. Mind you, we didn't even have any convicts to do any building yet. Yeah, but interesting point. So it's got to be at least an overnight trip logistically. If you're going up on the westerly, and you've still got to unload before you can then be back on the easterly winds in the morning, and it's a long, windy trip. So, and it notes here, it is blowing a gale from the southwest and takes all our time to hold the boat. So, good luck with that. And I just wanted to point out here that apart from all these ships that arrived within the first year, by 1832, so 3 years, the population of the colony had still only reached 1,500 people. not counting the estimated 15,000 Indigenous Australians. So we still had no convicts, nothing was happening much, except I just wanted to point out too that I've had difficulty finding Indigenous information, obviously, because their history is all recorded verbally and passed down. Curtin University, along with the City of Coburn, are involved with this site, but it's much the same deal. You get shipwreck, landed, saw very little, left again. The French came. I did actually find an interesting map, which I will bring out at a later date too, that I'd like to discuss, because there must be more history surely in the French maps. And then same deals, and then we also get the Aboriginal side of history. So this gentleman explains a little bit, and I will just let him say his bit, and I'll cut the volume, and we just get on to the picture of the roundhouse that's shown in this video.
The point is that the Noongars obviously asked through these people, why are you here? Who are you, stranger? What are you doing here? Tell us what your name is and why you're here. So as you can see, when I'm sort of telling this story, I'm sort of mixing, sort of Dreamtime Noongar stories with kind of European contact history, because that really is a reflection of this place. Occupied Australia, or colonised Australia, like any nation that gets colonised and has trouble with the locals, ends up creating things like the Roundhouse.
Okay, so this is the Roundhouse. As noted, we're flat. We're pretty much flat all the way through here, and then there's a bit of a rise over this side. But this is what remains of it. Now, as I said, we're trying to place the buildings. These were all added later, and these and this. And apparently there was a whole lot more of the higher ground, the limestone here, that's all been gradually chipped away. So it gets really quite difficult to make sense of it. There's apparently some preservation that went on. It's interesting they talk about preservation, but this whole piece of land is pretty much gone. So I'll show you some further images of that. So the shipyard is next to the beach, so the Roundhouse is up here somewhere. This is Lighthouse number 2. There's two lighthouses, and I don't understand why, but anyway, we'll press on. I wanted to show you these. Now, these aren't mentioned anywhere, but they look like tunnels to me. And as we'll see going through, most of this land has all been quarried away. So I can't find mention of them. It might be in there somewhere, but it's kind of interesting. They focus a lot on the Whalers Tunnel, which I go through, and there's no mention of any of this. What's going on in this photo, I don't understand. There's all this hatchwork on everything. And this building, wherever I seem to see it, has 2 different roof versions. So there's always a dividing. I don't know, this one looks like fiction to me. We'll move on. So this is what I was saying. Here's the Roundhouse here in its exact same position and High Street. This is where they've filled all the land to make the shipping port. So this is the passenger side on the south side. And this gives you an indication of the height, and they've taken virtually the whole thing away. Also note there's an outline here, and that'll come up later too, that must be water. Same photo again. I just don't know about that one. This one looks almost as fictitious because I'm comparing where the buildings were. These buildings are all accounted for, and this is the old lighthouse. I'll give you the legend later with the map. The steps, see now this wall doesn't appear there now. These buildings here I'm quite interested in, and what was here, because I mean we don't even really have High Street pictured unless it's meant to be behind this wall, and this building here. But again, this is a very strange, doesn't even actually look like the Roundhouse, but it has been changed multiple times as well. That's the building in front of the Roundhouse. The Roundhouse is behind here. There is the original Lighthouse. This one says photo, I believe, but this is a drawing. But it does show some sort of division inside, which I haven't seen in other photos. But I'll go through the Roundhouse inside and out fully. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is pure fiction. You will note there's the train line, and this would be where they've filled for the port. There's the Roundhouse. I think that's how it was in the picture Autodidactic showed. And you'll see the height of the tunnel here and the height of the stairs. They do seem to go up and down a bit compared to these people. If this is even a real photo. And then the train line is always there in some form. There is the Roundhouse here. These are the newer buildings, and this was what they did for World War II when they added guns, I believe. And so there was a lot of the land still there, which isn't there now. The stairs here. Roundhouse in behind here. Where's the rest of the photo? Again, the tunnels. So there's the two different... And this looks like... It actually looks like the old lighthouse building that was under it with the dome that they added. And this is the new lighthouse, but then the positions look wrong to me. So here, they took the original tower off the lighthouse, and then they've just put a little dome roof over what was left. And this is the newer lighthouse. And this is quarrying. I mean, wow. So they had train lines moved in to cover moving stuff in and out. Was that just they built them and used them and then took them down? But this could be the original line that goes around. I'm not really sure. And then a later photo, I think, from the 60s or 70s, showing where they've cut it back, and this is the tunnel as it is now. And this is fairly much as it is now, I think, too, built out in the same way. But I don't know how much of this was stone. I think most of it was. Okay, and that's looking the opposite direction now. So that's the original in a bas relief, apparently, out the front of the town hall. Here's the Roundhouse up here. This is all blocked. So there's a hell of a lot of work in that. And this building is still there, I believe, is the kerosene store, or now it's called the Kidogo Art House. Tunnels, looking the other way. So this is the actual long jetty. So maybe I had the position wrong, but then they've changed the beach as well. So it's really actually kept me awake at night, to be quite honest. And we saw that one, and we saw that one, and I'll put that in for you. And welcome to the 80s. So there was big changes around Fremantle at that point. Same image. I don't think we need any of these. There's a lot of information. Some of it conflicting, but the pictures just blow my mind. Okay, so this is a really wonderful image, and Diana Champion, you really are a champion, thank you. This gives us an indication of the height. So this is the Roundhouse, all as it is now. This is a very recent photo. And we're looking at good 3 stories here before we even get to the Roundhouse, and there's 2 stories currently within it. And you'll see how straight a line this is, but several of these buildings have basements, and there are some here that are half up, half down, and there are some, especially this one, that look like they're made to accommodate giants. So was it just a warehouse and built really big? And this is the facade is still there. I'll show you this one in a minute, with the trams were housed. Yeah, so you can get a good idea of what's been added from here with the train line as a pretty reliable reference point. And I just wanted to point out this image. So keep this in your mind. This is a 180 degree of what it looks like from inside, which I couldn't get because there was too many people milling about when I was in there. And some other remnants and images. This is a really good website, by the way. I'll put the link in just to get an overview of Fremantle. It's a really gorgeous place. This one showing the train lines. So we're looking down from the Roundhouse here and showing the train lines heading up High Street. I'm pretty doubtful about the image myself. The train line goes under the building here. Which came first there? The 2 lighthouses within proximity to each other. So this is the missing old one, stood for 29 years and then replaced with, 27 years, and then replaced with this one. This is 1850, 1876 they cut it down. So this is the new roof added, apparently, and this is the bottom of the lighthouse, and this is the new lighthouse, which is now long gone because they've put the new one up on North Mole. So that's a clearer picture of the first one. And the heights in the new one. But back to Wikipedia, this is the image I really wanted to talk about. So Jane Eliza Curry, wife of explorer Mark John Curry, she painted a panorama in 1831. And if you're not sitting down already, sit down, folks. This is apparently what it looked like in 1831. So the Roundhouse, we've got steps coming down. We've got a whole lot of just grassed area and then more steps. So this would have been before the tunnel went through, and the original land hasn't been all cut away. So there's just the Roundhouse. There's nothing else up there built. Is a steep drop by the look of it and quite high. And what is this? That's not High Street. So there's that shadow I pointed out, is that a waterway? It looks like they're in water, doesn't it? And look at this. This must be your little goat track, how to get there. And it's way up high. I don't know, is that a building? And you must be coming along this high point. And then moving right over here, where they would have filled in for the harbour now. I don't know where is that the North Mole over there? What is all this? So pretty interesting, really. It's an amazing picture. The first time I tried to open it, Wikipedia wouldn't let me. But now 3 weeks later it's allowing me, so I'm able to show it to you. But have a look. This also is the Anglesey, which apparently ran aground in 1829 or 1830 and became our first prison hulk. Why we needed a prison hulk back then, when we also were building the Roundhouse and we had no convicts for another 20 years, I'm not really sure. But take a close look at that. It's just mind-blowing, this picture. And this was the building I was looking for out the front that doesn't appear in the photos, of course, but look how big it is. So there's the Roundhouse in the background, the steps. And this one, Roundhouse inside. So there's part of the wall there or something. Maybe it's a bit of a veranda off this, I'm not sure. And this building, which is still there now and has a little bit of a short window at the front, but it's built as a two-storey, a giant two-storey, and there now houses three-storey apartments inside it. I'll tack that on if I have time too. Oh, and anything that, just a disclaimer, if State Library or Dr. Batty pops up, he's had his white gloves on everything. Okay, so finally we get to the Roundhouse. Sorry to drag all that out. I just needed to make sure that we were all sort of on the same page. Let's go through the photos. So this is as it was in January when I went and took the pictures. This is some of the repair work that's been done inside. So you've got an absolute hodgepodge by the look of it. There is red brick, whether that was original or not, I don't know. So the red brick is still there. This is a picture I took from inside the display, actually in one of these doorways. Stonemasons, 1975. It looks here like it's all intact and he's either just replacing stones or sticking faces on. Looking at that, not really sure, but feel free to come back and pause on any of these, but I'll press through. And this was a plan that was drawn on the, was hanging on the wall in there as well. So there is the Roundhouse itself, the buildings as they are now, and this is all gone. So these are the cells. So it was meant to be 6 cells in total, I think. And I'll show you images of that in just a minute. And then the second story covers just this part. And as I said, I don't know if that's a veranda or exactly what that is. But there's so this was meant to be the jailer's quarters. So he and the family lived there as far as I can tell. Okay, so getting to the tunnel. The tunnel was built by Fremantle Whaling Company in 1837-38 to provide easy access between the original port at Bathers Beach and the town. The Whalers Tunnel was the first underground engineering project in Western Australia, and the government provided engineering expertise and convict labour to build it. Originally, the tunnel was 3.6 metres high and 64 metres long. Quarrying of the western cliff of Arthur Head has reduced this length to 46 metres. Now, one thing that stood out there again was convict labour. So we had no convicts in 1837, still, not for another 12 years. So these were from the free settlers, which numbered only 2,000. We'd managed to make enough convicts to mount a labour force. Moving on. So here's the tunnel, the stairs as they were. Look at this. So this is apparently installing electricity cables for the trams in 1905. The original floor of the tunnel can be seen at the bottom of the excavation pit next to this sign. Many of the layers that have been built up over the original floor can be seen in the sides of the pit. The original floor was built in 37-38 and cut into the natural limestone. So I don't know if they're actually if that's just a stack of bricks. But yeah, look how low the lines are. So that would match the original picture where I showed the people standing just here. It is a long way down, isn't it? Okay, so, this is all filthy too, because this was taken actually inside the tunnel. There's a few displays inside the tunnel, and it's nice looking this way. You get all the, I don't know if that's original brick, but it looks like it is, doesn't it? And the stone, the gates were a later addition, but looking back the other way, they've just butchered it, with all the spray-crete. And it's really impossible to know what was there. So that's coming down the far end. So you're still looking through to High Street. That's the back of it, which is still scaffolded, I believe, now. Another little sign in there said the view of the tunnel under the Roundhouse and Whaling Jetty in 1840. So there's the tunnel. That's the abandoned building with no roof under what were the lighthouses when we looked before. And I pointed out what could have been tunnels. They mention there is a cave, a whaler's cave, but it doesn't say anything about the other holes there. Okay, and so outside the tunnel, that was where the tunnel exits, and this scaffold is still there. There's blockwork here, there's concrete, there's a whole lot going on out there. That's a closer image of it. So it's, I don't know if that's old blocks or new blocks, and the concrete. And then this final shot is from the, where are we? What side am I? The south side. No, that's the north side. My apologies. That's the north side. And if I go back to... How do I make that come back? Sorry. If I go back to this one, we'll have... That's from the beach side. So there's the tunnel without the scaffold. And this is where we were looking from just a moment ago. Now, I did want to point out that the well is rather a major feature in there. It does take up quite a bit of space in there. So that's as it is now. There's the other picture I showed, these things came and went. But it's pretty much as is. And that gives you a bit of an idea of the size of the well, which then when you look from overhead is right next to the tunnel. But I'll go into that in a little bit further detail in a moment. So right now, finally, for all the people with OCD that have been saying it's not round, here you go. It's a dodecagon. It's a 12-sided polygon. Which I had to look that up because I didn't know what a 12-sided polygon was called, and I did watch UAP's Dozen last night, so that kind of fits in nicely. You don't need to know all that, you can look at it if you like. I just wanted to point these out, but how common is a 12-sided building? There doesn't seem to be many around as far as I could find. This one they point out is a church in Segovia. And what else did I find? I found this one, which is actually an interesting match because of the height for a start, but it has that, look at that tower in the middle. I mean, what if? Look at the height. Is that what we originally had? And then this is the main prison complex that Campbell covered. And, you know, I was thinking, well, there's another dodecagon, and there's a similar structure there in Warwick Castle. Which, who would have expected that? What's that? The Tower of London, similar shape to the front of the prison. And there is Warwick Castle again, a better image, dodecagon, and very similar, very similar. Okay, so I noticed the well isn't drawn on the plan there, so I've just marked it in red for you, and you might want to pause and have a look at that if it interests you. Now I found this interesting map, which made no sense until I blew it up and turned it around. This is absolutely fascinating. It's got all the levels on it. So you've got 1914 down here, and let me see, zoom it in. It actually, don't do that. Sorry. Okay, back now. It shows all the levels, the datum levels. So wait on. Public Works Department, May 1914. So we've got the, I don't know if this is metric or imperial watt, but just looking at the figures. So inside the Roundhouse is 42.85. Down in the tunnel you've got 11.54 and 11.32 at the low end, at the beach end. Over here, this now disappeared cottage had a basement, so the cottage was at 24.05 and the basement was at 13. This building directly out the front, which is the one I was wondering about that has the apartments in it, I was just about to show you the apartments, has got the RL of 13.25 and then the basement at 6.75. And there's a well here at 2.48. So the main road level's around 7.8. This tram shed, which it has pits in it. I did find a picture with the machinery and the pits. So the pits were down to 5.41, which is even lower than the basement. So that was, I'm assuming, to get under the tram cars. What else? This one, 12.8 for the building height, 6.82 for the cellar height. Was that the original height of the building? And same again along here, 12.68, is that what it says, for the building, and 4.62 for the cellar. Basement 4.49, building 10.99. So there's a lot going on underground there. And I'll show you this building. Remember this building? This was the Harvey beef building. It's one of the prettiest, and it's still very intact. I think that was pretty much all of them that I could show you. Yeah. Okay, so this is the building across the road from the Roundhouse. The Roundhouse is over here. This is the tram shed through the window out here. I just wanted to show you the size of this place. This is huge. This is the upper level. There is a loft above it. I'll just flip through the photos so you get an idea of the size of it. Come on, open. So this was the little half window at the front that I mentioned in front of the Roundhouse. Looking back down the street. Kitchen, same level. So that's the loft above the kitchen. This is down lower. So you've got another 2 levels down there. This would be the little window at the front. I think if that would be the main entrance there. So you've got what was a window going down below ground, and then the bottom of the window on the next level up. There, so you've got the 2 levels just in the one. This is the loft area, I think, at the very, very top. And this is the outdoor area on the top level as well, looking out at the Roundhouse. fascinating place. And all the other apartments are generally smaller, but this was the most grandiose, so we looked at that one. Now, before I go any further, I just want to move from the Roundhouse across this level area to Parry Street and just take a look at the height of the prison to compare, because you'll see that they're almost identical. So down at street level it's pretty similar height to where we were, and I've just moved it and you can't see it, but this is the main entrance to the prison here, and you're looking at the stairs going up, comparison height by the height of the car. It's actually quite a long way up to the main entrance building. That side is one set of stairs plus there's extra, so it must be similar ground level to where we were before. Okay, and I just wanted to touch on this one as well, although Campbell covered it in his Fremantle video. I just wanted to point out these things which they come and go over the various pictures, and I mean, there's so much gone on in regards to the buildings, and then the photos are just a dog's breakfast as well, so it gets really quite difficult. These walls are all gone now, so there was a wall dividing there was a wall dividing there, and I don't know who these people are. They don't look like lunatics belonging to the asylum. So this is actually, the heading is building the foundations, but we're way past foundations there. And this absolute work of fiction. So there's a whole other wing added on here, and then there's a second edition that goes on as well. I'll show you that in a second. But I'm looking at this thinking, oh, come on, you've just tried to completely obfuscate with this photo, but it doesn't tell you a lot about the photo itself. I can't say where it came from. This one, it was an old women's home during the war. And this guy, how to cut the stone. So this is apparently how we cut the stone. And now, see, finial's gone again. So these things come and go over numerous photos. But what I didn't realise, so this is the further extension of it. I'll go to the colour image is better, I think. Oh, no, there's no colour image. Sorry, must be on the other page. This one, I walked all around in this building. I did a complete lap. I walked all the way across the front, even though it's a dead end and you can't get out there now, and looked at all the different pieces. I didn't notice this until I was sitting at the bus stop leaving. So this is finished neatly, and these finials have come and gone numerous times. I'll see if I can cover it. Well, I like this guy. He's going, oh yeah, that all fell from up there, did it? Goodness knows. Yeah, they're here. Then no finials here, and this one, which was meant to be the later extension, is a different shaped gable, is a different height gable, and then there's a further extension as well, which looks a bit odd there, but anyway, we won't concentrate too much on it. That's the same photo again, I think, with all the people. What is this? Look at this huge wall, and the picture I think is down below that Campbell showed. It's huge. Whatever that structure is, it's got all these buttresses or ribs on it. So here, no, where's the colour photo? Colour photo. This is all nicely finished, and all it really needs is a lick of paint, but these come and go. It got me thinking about what was the, there it is there. What was the building, I mean, what could it look like, really? It's quite an amazing building. Here, look at this. What is that? So these were the walls, I assume? Maybe not. Okay. There. So that looks like a different era really to this, and it's different heights. But all this was the original building, and I mean, I don't know, it might have been quite nice. Sorry about that, folks. The height also, I don't know what all this is down here, maybe plumbing that's been added in, but was there more of it below ground? I did go in and ask. Can't really see anything. They said no, there's no basement, but it is all on timber floor, so don't know what's underneath. So I found these elevations, which are just of the extension, the third extension, and this may well have been done in recent times, or this just could be elevation drawings. They're not official plans. This is the second extension here, and just, I mean, I don't need to walk you through it all, but just to give you an idea of really what it might look like, even with some colour added to it, rather than just the bare stone that's had numerous treatments over the years. So moving on, yeah, I was just looking, you know, the Gothic gables were sort of this shape, you know, maybe there was something else in between. This has the veranda level at the top level, like the art centre does, but this is the full 3 stories. I mean, is that what we were originally looking at? Something of that size with the same shape gables. And obviously way too grandiose, but you know, you get the idea what I'm aiming at. If the roof went through the middle, whereas now there's just this empty space. It could have looked quite different. Now I just wanted to show you this place too. I took pictures of it, but you can get a better look at it from here. So we are just off to the side of the prison. Where is the prison? The prison is here, and we are just here near the Norfolk Hotel, which I will also show you in a second. This was the old synagogue. But you can see by the back here where they've been doing an extension, just how much of it is under the ground. From the front, it actually joins onto these. And I was driving down the street. I'd never even noticed it before. I was driving down the street a few months ago, and I sort of went, why is that hidden behind there? And of course I noticed the star. And it seemed like a really odd place to have it. I'll go through the images inside. So this is actually how tall it is inside. And it's all in the one level. And this is out the back where I was showing you the building extension. But this door is up here. So, and you've also got a menorah in this window, and I think there's a star in the other window. It's a huge building. What else is good in the pics? Here we go. This is underneath from out the back. So that was that door I just pointed out that's kind of in no man's land up in the air. And there's a whole other floor down there. So this is the shop part on the front, which is all boarded up, and I don't think it's been used for a long, long time. Crazy. Really strange building. Port Frio. We all recognise that symbol. And there it is. This article says that they were going to build a hotel at the back there, but he's decided to sell it off instead. Former synagogue, first in WA in 1902. Site was sold to the Department of Defence in 1916, and over the years has been a clothing outlet, cafe and carpet shop. So, there's another interesting one. And I just do a quick walk around. So we were here. I just wanted to show you this section. So there's the synagogue. This is the Norfolk Hotel. Again, same again with the stone. There's a lot of limestone around Fremantle, and the houses tend to either be red brick and limestone or limestone and red brick. And yes, there's two separate variations. So here you can see 2 levels. There is actually a third level. The car park drops away down the back, and there's a third level, and I'll show you from the other side. We had this church you might have noticed before. You'll recognise a lot of the architecture, probably from where you live. Heading down this way. So I did walk up and down here, and I took lots of photos, and I'll throw a few in at the end for you. The market building I haven't been in for a long time, and I must go back, but I remember there being sort of undulations in there, that it wasn't a particularly level floor, so there was ups and downs. I don't know if there was originally a whole other level. I'll show you again on the back of it, but look at the stonework here, how it's cut. This is a really interesting building, and the one here is just absolute classic architecture. So we're still at the markets here, and there's a bit of a level change, but I'm sure it drops down inside as well. I must go back in. Sail and Anchor, like all pubs, usually have a basement, and I don't know what came first there, whether they decided to add basements to pubs or they already had below ground floors. So as you can see, this is up off the road, and I'll come back behind it in a minute, and we'll go down here and I'll come back through the lane which comes up the back of all these buildings. So Sail and Anchor, I'm not sure about, I think this is a recent building, we won't worry about that one. Metropolis Nightclub is over 3 levels, and it says that on their website, and I'm pretty sure I have been down in the bottom of that. So that's a 3-level building with 1 underground. The Monk is also up off the road with 2 levels, and it's confirmed they have a basement underneath, and that's where they do their brewing. Coming through here, this piazza is all over separate levels, so there's a whole other level goes down in the back. So this shop's down the stairs inside. This one, I did actually manage to, I had a chat to the manager in Grilled, and he tells me they have a lower level, and it used to be an Italian restaurant many years ago, and he believes there was some illegal activity downstairs in the basement going on. And the Mexican kitchen is, half of it is in the basement, and see here there's a grill, and there's the same things here. There is actually windows, and they let me go in, and I took a picture of the window because I finally found one. After 6 hours wandering around Fremantle, I was able to get one. And I'll show you just here. See, the street drops away a bit here, so you've got probably maybe half a floor's difference in between. I don't know about the dome, but you can see it's got all the architecture, but in Australia they put a veranda on everything. And there is more down the street here also. There's a club in here that is below ground, basement nightclub. Another pub here probably has a basement. So yeah, there's a lot going on. And this is the cafe strip, by the way, too. So I'll take us down the back. Isn't Google great? We don't have to watch out for cars. So this is the Mexican restaurant, and this is grilled. To see if I can just get, no, I can't show you. It's not going to cooperate. There is, you can see a bottom level, you can get down to it because the toilet's out here. So I went out and there is another level underneath. And then you can't see from the back, but the Mexican has a whole other basement level coming back the other way. This is below the Monk, so you can see you can actually drive a car down under there. And that's just painted on. That's another one you can actually go down under the building. They're at the wrong height, but maybe for deliveries, I don't know. Oh, look at Jim Kidd again. And here at the back of the school, the technical school, so we've got these buried windows, and you'll see this door I went and you can actually, I touched the top of it there, so it's only just slightly higher than the car. So not much use as a doorway, but just to show you what's around the back there. And then I'll put photos in at the end. There's a house here that I was able to see through. They had the garage up, and it's 2 levels at the back and 1 at the front. This is the Norfolk Hotel again. Now we've gone around the block. So here on this place, you can see these little vents here, and there is actually windows under there, in line with this brick wall, whereas this comes out the front. So, and I think there's quite a few of those around Fremantle. I found them sort of on the outskirts of town a bit, so it's not just all isolated to Fremantle. This is actually really clever. I wanted to show you this. So in here it drops away again and you get that 3rd level, but right behind this van, I'll show you where. Can I zoom in on that? This is actually, it's carved into the brickwork, so they've carved it deeper to get to the red brick, and they're very, all the different layers. It looks really, really good. I'll put a picture in of that as well. But if we go over here, there you go. There's another little bar or club underneath. So you've got the half of the window and steps down to the door as well. And there we are back at the synagogue. And I think that just about wraps us up for the day. So I'll put some photos and some music in the end. Thanks everyone for joining me. And that's it for Freo for now. Cheers all.